Minnesota brothers and sisters, welcome to the Show to Be Named Later podcast. I'm your host, Jonny Voss, alongside with a guy whose towel and name was seen by millions and millions of people at WrestleMania over the weekend, our good buddy, Noah Stoerzinger. Hey, man, how you doing?
Good. My name's actually Naz Reed. I don't know where you're going.
Okay, so I was going to ask you because I'm guessing, when the origins of this show was being realized, I'm guessing that you would have thought we would never talk about pro wrestling on the show. It's not like we're Japan, where there I think it's a real sport. But speaking of WrestleMania, I was wondering, did you get the reference? Do you understand where I was going with that?
Yeah, and they talked about it on the broadcast actually at the last Wolves game, but WrestleMania, those Naz Reed towels that they gave out a couple weeks ago, one was spotted. Someone,
against Cleveland, right? So that means someone had at least been at that game or knew somebody that went to that game, sent it, and it was very visible. Now WrestleMania was a 2-day ordeal, and I believe it was on Saturday, but I just thought that was great, and your name in print, that's nothing better, and I think we'll get. I want to get to Naz Reed and the gang momentarily, but considering that we've been kind of spotty in the last few weeks, and I want to go with baseball right away because apparently baseball is in full swing, no pun intended. However, I don't think anybody mentioned that to the Minnesota Twins organization as of yet.
No, I think they maybe don't understand that, when a runner's on second and third, that's how you typically get guys in, but they're 0 for 30, I think, in the last 3 games or whatnot. So you can hit homers all you want, but man, come on.
Well, we're not doing that either. And, I just wanted, some takeaways from it. I'm not ready to, to throw the towel in or to freak out and push panic buttons as of yet. I don't believe that World Series are won in April. However, I think division races are won in April, or could be won in April, or playoff spots could be at least thought of in April. You don't want to get too far behind the pack, and I don't see many teams from the American League Central going to the playoffs. Probably one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yes, to your point, like it's April. This team is 3-5. So it's, there are a lot of people that are absolutely freaking out, and I get it. But it's not time to hit the panic button. Offense struggled last year in April. It did. So it's something that they can right the ship. But, if it continues and continues and continues, you're going to fall out of a spot because, quite frankly, most of the division, minus the White Sox, have started pretty well. So,
yeah, right.
It's some ground that they're going to have to make up, but no, I'm not worried. The Astros started off terribly last year. There's plenty of teams that start off terribly last year, and April's kind of where you get your footing. I think the Twins president says that you see what kind of team you have in April and May, and then June and July is whether you have a contender or a seller or whatnot. So really, this is and. How many injuries does this team have?
Yeah.
This team's not at full strength. Not having your best hitter in the lineup sucks, but it seems like really the offense.
Those are some of the things I wanted to talk about. It was funny because I got a text. I went to the game on Saturday, and at that point it was, that was only our 6th or 7th game that we had played, and I get a text. It's not even the first inning from a good friend that says, the Manuel Margot and Carlos Santana experiment should be done. And I'm like, look, man, we've had 5 games, I think. And, oh, by the way, Big C, I believe Margot was our only offense last night. But we'll get to the hitting in a second as well. But, you brought up a good point. Injuries to start out hurt this team. However, it's a veteran lineup that you're putting out every night, with the exception of Julian and Wallner. And so the lack of hitting the ball, and especially in scoring situations is very concerning, because these aren't young whippersnappers. These are all veteran players who just cannot put the ball into play at all, and especially with runners in scoring position, like you say, 0 for the 30 or 0 for 32 or something like that. And I watched that first game against Cleveland. I think we had guys on third base for the first 7 innings. Nothing. We couldn't even get an RBI. So that to me is concerning. Other things we talked about starting the year off, putting your eggs in a Wallner in a Julian basket, and they look as clueless at the plate as they did in the playoffs to end the year last year. So you do wonder if guys like Buxton aren't really getting going. Correa's bats is doing pretty well, but we'll talk about a couple other guys in a moment. But I'll be honest with you. You can't have as many hits as maybe Mexico has war heroes on a nightly consecutive nights and think that you're gonna be successful. And it's too bad for the pitching because the pitching hasn't been that bad.
No, and I just saw a stat, prior to yesterday, I know the bullpen gave up a couple runs, but Twins had the best bullpen so far. And one of the worst starting staffs, ERA wise is what I was looking at. But no, and quite honestly, when you think about last year, that offense really wasn't great last year either. I know they picked it up a little down towards the stretch, but you start the season again like you did like last year. And if we continue this trend, at what point are you looking at the pitching coach like, what the hell are you doing? Because there's no reason why this offense should be this bad. And I get it. It's April. It's early. It's right after spring training. So it's not like I have super high expectations, and I get it, getting your feel for the offense and whatnot. But this isn't new to Twins baseball in the past 2 years. So at what point are you looking like, hey man, like there's something wrong right now? And because at bats just aren't being had.
But
no
has been though.
bats.
What didn't we set an all-time major league record for strikeouts in a season last year? And now what we're trying, those are one of the records that a Minnesota team actually has a chance of breaking. So we're just all in. We're going to go for it, or what? Like it's been a reoccurring problem. And the batting average with runners in scoring position, I believe we own the league's worst, not the league, Major League Baseball's worst team batting average right now. And it's not going to fly.
Well, no, and it's like, look, I get home runs are fun, but quite honestly, just playing the small ball game and getting guys around base and slapping singles and whatnot, I almost enjoy that a little more. Just moving the line, keep going. Really, ever since 2019, we broke the home run record. But since 2019, the offensive game plan, it almost seems like, is just try to elevate the ball and hit a home run. If you strike out, that's fine.
But we're not doing that either.
That's what I'm saying. And what team has ever succeeded where the whole game plan was just hit as many home runs as you can? Because I remember one team that did that, the Baltimore Orioles, 2015, 2016, that team that was super good, but they get to the first round of the playoffs, and if you're not hitting the home run ball, you got no offense. Right. So what do you expect to do when there's no offense? And the pitching can only do so much. And when you can't get guys in from third with nobody out multiple innings, I don't know what you're doing at that point.
Right. The other thing, one that I've got to hang up with is because I don't think that if he would not have had a resurgence in the second part of the season last year, I don't think we would even be talking about Max Kepler. And that's disappointing, because to say, well, he fouled a pitch off his knee, or he started the same way last year. And I don't know if he's gonna rebound this year like he did last year. And I'm almost done with this guy.
Well, and there's no one right now that's threatening his spot. And that's what we saw last year. As you remember, Trevor Larnach sucked during the year, and that was really his biggest competition, I guess you would say, for a starting spot. And all of a sudden, Matt Wallner comes up and just starts breaking. And all of a sudden, Kepler starts hitting well. So, there's no one down the line that's coming up that's saying I'm ready to take Max Kepler's spot, and I think there's just no push for him. And yeah, I mean, at bat wise, have not been competitive whatsoever for Max Kepler.
You think last year he came on because he was feeling pressure, and now this year because there isn't that pressure? I mean, to me, I would say that Max Kepler this year, as far as his future with the Minnesota Twins, he's going to have an enormous Schwansticker, and he has not shown that whatsoever. He looks absolutely clueless, gets no elevation on the ball at all in his at bats, and so. Is it too early on something? Like, I don't want to push panic buttons, but is it too early to get a new Schwansticker in right field?
Well, at this point, I don't know who you call up because, I mean, half of our guys are hurt. I mean, Brooks Lee could come up later. I don't know that they want him playing outfield. Austin Martin needs to probably get some at-bats down at AAA.
What about Kirilloff in right field and Santana playing first? Because Santana's going to give you a 9-pitch at bat until he grounds out or flies out or whatever it is. But I'd almost rather see him at the plate than Max Kepler right now.
Well, I'd take Kirilloff out and right because Kirilloff's the only one that has known how to hit the ball.
Yeah, right.
So far. But then, you look at Wallner, who's struggling as well. The depth pieces have been struggling. I'm excited to see what Miranda can do coming up here. He's feeling good, it looks like. But from there, I mean, I don't know where you go because there's really no one threatening Max Kepler, and I think that's what's fueling the slump from him. And I do think that's what fueled him last year because there was really no one there. All of a sudden, Wallner comes up and the guy starts to hit. So, and I don't want to say let's write Max Kepler off. I mean, it's 8 games in the season.
No, it's 8 games. I understand that. Yeah.
Right. And but at the same time, it's hard to think about who's going to come up and take his spot. But also, like, I remember a conversation halfway through the year last year was maybe we owe Max Kepler an apology.
Yeah.
And I'm all for a resurgence, but like someone's got to hit other than Kirilloff. Someone's got to do it.
Well, because Rocco made a comment that kind of pissed me off the other day. He's talking about how, just wait until the schedule evens out a little bit. And it's like, I'm sorry, man, you're not going to be playing the Chicago White Sox every single day, or think that you might get the Marlins or the Oakland A's, and that's going to even things out. You're going to have to find a way to play competitive baseball with the better teams in your division, in the league, much less the playoffs. If you're thinking that way, and I looked at the Dodgers series and I was like, we're going to get our ass kicked, and that may or may not come down the pike or not. But I mean, I don't know. Now I was going to ask you about Bailey Ober because there were a couple questions I wanted to ask. Number one. Apparently Rocco was talking about, his first start against the Royals was absolutely horrible. ERA of 58, I think.
And I watched it.
Yeah, right. And Rocco said something about he was maybe tipping pitches. He wasn't accusing the Royals of stealing signs, and then I thought, well, is it a Joe Ryan thing where he's perhaps not feeling 100% like every other Twin, even Walker Jenkins, for crying out loud. So I wondered about that initially, like because we haven't seen Ober get pounded like that before, especially by the Royals.
Other time.
Okay. And then I thought he looked, I didn't see much of the game, but from what I heard, he looked pretty good. And you took him out with 60 pitches.
So I watched a game on TV. He looked. I mean, for that offense, like that's a stud lineup. He looked really good bounce back start. Now everyone's, he only had 60 pitches. It was the 5th inning, whatever. You needed to take him out, quite truthfully, because you had 3 lefties coming up, 3rd time through the order. I understand he was looking good, but he was still giving up some hard contact. And you have some really, really, really good hitters coming up. I'd much rather a 2-1 game, and I get it, Oker gave up the lead, but I'd still like the matchup a lot better. Right. So I do I don't fault Rocco for the decision at all.
Okay. And I was just checking. I had a Terry. My spring break started this weekend, and it wasn't a good start last night because all I wanted to do is watch, the Twins. I wanted to watch a little bit of basketball. Wanted maybe even to catch WWE Raw, and my power went off about 7:30. And I had it so I missed most of the Twins game. I ended up having to go to Frenchman's to watch the second half of the basketball game, which I guess we can talk about in a little bit as well. But as far as the Twins, I mean, if we don't start picking some things up, especially when we're at home, if you're looking at a 3-11, 3-12 season to start out, it's going to be hard to claw back from that. And it doesn't look like Royce is going to be back till All-Star break, man.
Now I saw that they said no later than June at least, which that sucks. It sucks.
Yep.
But I know he's in good spirits, which is nice to see. But
did you see the quote? They said, so he said, I think I got what is it, a level 2 sprain, but they won't really tell me because then I'll just rush back before I'm time, and they won't even tell me how severe my injury is, so that he doesn't really. I mean, it's not made up. It's not fake shit. That's who he is.
No, and I it's funny. This guy it just reminds me of like when have 3 major sports teams in a city, I'm thinking Vikings, Twins, and Timberwolves, had like that guy. You got Justin Jefferson, Anthony Edwards, and now you got Royce. Like Royce Lewis is turning into
except we've only had him for 60 games, right?
Well, yeah,
and we have Thrill the Thrill with the Wild too. If you're into that kind of stuff, I agree though, and I think we did make that point way back when, as Edwards started showing us what he was able to do. All right. Well, you have predictions for the rest of the Dodgers series?
Yeah, I think I don't know which one. I think they'll take a game. They're going to lose the series, but I think they do take a game, whether it be the rubber match or tonight. But I think April we'll see a lot of series losses, but they'll get a couple wins in the series.
Because they got Detroit this weekend, right? That's a 4-game series in Detroit. Okay. Final thing with baseball, I want to quickly touch upon because I don't know, and I didn't do my research. I figured I'd have somebody educate me here, fresh. So now I heard, is the Oakland Athletics, are they going to go to Sacramento for 3 years? Is that is that accurate or what?
Yeah, so their stadium isn't ready, obviously in Vegas or wherever they're going, but they just want to get out of Oakland, and so they're literally moving to a minor league stadium that sits like 11,000.
Right. So that wasn't the city of Oakland blocking them from going to Las Vegas, like because that's still not 100% over, is it? Like
I don't know. I don't think they're going to stay in Oakland at all. I think they're moving. But as of right now, like for 3 years until the stadium gets built, they're going to go play in a minor league stadium that sits 11,000, which I guarantee you Sacramento fills that place. Which would be kind of cool.
Have you been to Sacramento? There's not much to do there, man.
Well, no, or you could watch Kings basketball or smoke weed. I don't know. But I mean, the A's at least will play in front of double the crowd they're used to at their home.
Right. That might be kind of a fun venue to go check out for a Major League Baseball. You kind of like maybe seeing a game at spring training. You know what I mean? Because it would be so. That's interesting. Okay. Well, other than that, I think, at least we're not the Chicago White Sox. Wouldn't you say? They've been shut out 4 times this year already.
That's a terrible team.
Yep.
Terrible team.
And then I saw. Now, did I see Miguel Sano pitched a third of an inning the other night?
The guy, he's got a scoreless ERA. After I forgot, he had Tommy John surgery back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, he
and he's batting over 200. Is that right?
I think so. And
which would be, incredible in a
well,
Twins uniform. But then, of course, you wouldn't do it. So,
well, Nick Gordon currently would lead the Twins in home runs if he was still on the team.
right.
He's got 2.
And Joey Gallo is batting 166, I believe.
But it's got some moonshots to his name.
He's hit a couple already?
I think he's got 2, yeah.
He'll end with 4. Okay. Minnesota Timberwolves, we talked about Naz Reid already and Big Jelly. Now, my big question, because I've said that I don't understand this team. I don't get them at all, except for the fact that Naz Reid continues to play incredible basketball. And so I guess the big question, I got the 100 grand bar question that I've got for you is, we had talked about Karl Anthony Towns is ahead of schedule. He might even be ready by the last game of the year or something like that. Now we got Washington tonight. We got Denver. We got Atlanta. And we got Phoenix, right? My question, you get to the playoffs. You bring Cat off the bench?
That's a good one.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, like, if you've got a guy, you got a race car in the red, Jules. You got a race car in the red. Why would you pump the brakes at all? I think you got to play him. And what better consigliere to come in off the bench than Karl Anthony Towns to be able to put, because if he's not 100%, then put him on the fucking second team.
I think if he's not ready and if he's not 100%, or at least let's get him conditioned again and feeling good, I don't mind bringing him off the bench, quite honestly.
But is that a rational NBA professional decision? Like, could you see that happening? Because to me, it's a no-brainer. You got to ride guys, and we said next guy up. Well, do you think that Naz Reid is gonna be better for the playoffs going back, being relegated to the bench?
I think if you keep his minutes relatively the same, it's going to be the same thing. I think you look at maybe playing him with the starters a little more when you
don't think his game is taken off because of the talent that he's playing with?
I think he's playing better with the guys that he's playing with. Yeah, I think he plays much better with next to Rudy and Anthony and J-Mac and who else, and Mike Conley for sure. I can see, like, if Cat comes back with 2 games left, I can see him sitting on the bench for the first one, but I think he'll start the last game of the season. He definitely Naz won't start the playoffs. You'll start Cat.
I disagree with that. You heard it here first, folks. I've been asking people this question, and I basically get the same answer. I don't think that Finchie or anybody else, maybe Glenn Taylor's pulling the strings, I don't think that they would have the guts to say to Karl Anthony. But to me, I would wait to see what the product's going to look like before you just anoint him to come back. And especially, I'm telling you, Naz Reid is playing out of his head right now. And I do not want to – you don't want to tell a horse whoa at all.
Yeah, I mean, Cat's already scrimmaging, which is good to see. I mean, he's already getting work in. But, man, Naz has already outplayed that contract, in my opinion, by far. It was a steal. You almost would have swapped Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid's contract at that point.
Yeah, right.
For how much their impact. Now, McDaniels is playing a lot better. He had another good game, I think. The last game, was it Lakers? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But would I prefer to see Naz start over Cat right now?
I think
Probably,
I would.
Yeah. Like, cause he's been, 30-point games in the last couple games. But at the same time, Cat can get you that pretty easy too.
Right. I guess I go, we talk a lot about players playing on momentum and playing on, on emotions. And right now, and I don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 games. I hope we take 3 or 4 in our last 4 games, and we're able to hold on to the number 1 spot. I have some concern with the fact that Phoenix is the only team that has spanked us twice this year. And I mean, spanked us. Like 2 of those games this year, we were never in it from tip off. And I don't know if that's just that's the way it is. I know the first time that was the end of or middle of the long road trip, right? There's no accounting for what happened the other night, starting out 15-0 right away. And, so I mean, that team kind of does scare me right now.
I think the positives was, the defense still held them under 100. I mean, you held a really good team under 100. Now you only scored 80 some, whatever. And you didn't have Cat. So you don't really know what that matchup might look like when you add Cat to the fold. But yeah, that matchup absolutely scares me. Quick question before I forget here. Chris Finch, does he, at the end of this year, or maybe by the end of his tenure as a Wolves coach, does he finish as the best coach in Timberwolves history?
I think that you would have to give him more years than what he's got right now. Like if it was to end, and what they got to the Western Conference Finals, 5 years of coaching and getting as far as Flip did. I think that you have to put a little more time in to be considered that guy yet. I would like to see him, at least right now, for him to be here another 10 years. And then I'd say absolutely. And especially if we do get to play for something I've been eyeing for 30 some years, I don't think right now, but I certainly, even with Flip, who I guessing everyone is going to say is the best coach the Wolves have ever had. There were things I didn't like about Flip's style sometimes, especially towards the end of the game. So, he had that consistency and was here for so long, and he was a likable guy, I think. And we've never had a good coach other than him. So, we just had bozos every turn. You can't even count Rick Adelman, great coach in the NBA, but not by the time the Wolves got him. You know what I mean? And like, that was just kind of a, thanks for the memories kind of job when he was with the Wolves. So, everybody else has been a bozo that the Wolves have hired. Every single person from the beginning. Bill Musselman, for sure. So, Jimmy Rogers, come on. So, I've got to look at it that way, but I definitely think that he is on the track for that. Just like in another 10 years, Anthony Edwards is going to go down as maybe the best player to ever put a uniform on for the Timberwolves.
Well, I was going to say, my next question now, it's hard to know, how far this team's going to go. And I don't want to start talking like, oh, when this team wins a championship, whatever. But the next guy to have a statue outside of Target Center, is he on this team right now?
It would certainly appear so, but we don't know. Edwards has had a few games off. The last 2-3 games have not been great. That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'll say this. We bashed Glenn Taylor pretty good the last time around, and I think fair enough. You know what I mean? I honestly believe that what we said was not vindictive or anything like that. He kind of a punk. But I think before we even start talking about statues, I think there is one person that deserves a statue, much less his jersey raised in the rafters. And I think if you want to talk, George Mikan's got a statue, great for Minnesota basketball, but nobody that goes to those games had ever seen him play, and that's not even our team any longer. You know what I mean? If you want to talk about the face of the Minnesota Timberwolves, until we get to that time that Anthony Edwards is that person, there is only one guy that you can equate with Minnesota Timberwolves basketball, and that's big ticket. And there's only one team that ever made it to the Western Conference Finals, and that was Big Ticket's team. And they always refer to the Target Center as the house that KG built. And so before we start talking about putting statues all over, the state of Minnesota, I think one guy does get it before anybody. But that's just my personal opinion.
Hot question then, on the topic of statues. Theoretically, right? Let's say the Wolves go all the way this year, next year, wherever it might be. Does Glenn Taylor get a statue?
Jeez.
Because if you think about it,
he doesn't own the building. He doesn't own the building. So that would be, like for the pole ads or, I guess they got Calvin Griffith outside of Target. That's all Twins. That's their stadium, right? So they can put that kind of stuff up. At the ballpark in Cincinnati, they got a statue of Pete Rose, but he can't even get in the Hall of Fame. Does Glenn Taylor deserve a statue? Jeez. Even if they won a world championship, my own stubborn asshole would say no, because Glenn Taylor didn't do anything to bring that champion except keep the team here. That's it. So if you're going to give him a statue for just keeping a team here, that's great. But he's not even going to get credit for this team. Even if they won, you can't say, well, that Glenn Taylor, what a crafty devil he is. He put that team, because he was against everything that's made this team relevant this year. So what, no, I disagree with that. But I guess you can do whatever you want.
My only thing was he was able to keep the team here. But quite truthfully, yeah, if this team wins a championship, I mean, A-Rod and Mark seem like they had a lot more to do with it than he did.
I agree.
So.
But, I guess if it's your own team, you can put a statue up to yourself if you want. That's great. Now, I was talking to a good friend about the playoffs coming up. And it goes this way, right? The 7 plays the 8, and whoever wins that game automatically gets the 7 seed, right?
Yep.
The 9 plays the 10, and the winner of that game plays the 8 seed, right? Okay. We were going over the list of teams, because Phoenix came up. This was just last night. And I got to be honest with you, Dallas still does not scare me that much. But other than that, Golden State is the only team in the playoffs right now that does not spook me out about God. Oh, we drew them. And I remember last week I was talking about, do you tank games so that you get better matchups or whatever you think is going to be the better matchup? And I really don't know. And it's like putting all those names in, for the NBA draft, the ping pong balls, and just blowing it up, because we're not going to know till the last day of basketball, and then we still might not know, because you got the damn playing games. What are you thinking? Because, like I say, Golden State's the only one that I'd be like, yes. And then you go, wow, they still got veterans that have done it before. So is that a great draw? Everyone is now scared of Dallas. Those are the 2 that I would prefer to see. Everybody else, nope.
The hard thing with the playoffs is you're going to, you play good teams no matter what. Every team that's going in there is good. Yeah, Golden State's probably the weakest out of that bunch, but at the same time, Curry could go for 40, any night.
Right.
And you still got, Clay's been
Andrew Wiggins will go for 40 too.
At Target Center, yeah.
Right.
But really, I would take Golden State. Sacramento, I think, would be tough, but I think we could edge it out. My only fear is that they run all the time. I don't think we match up with New Orleans. I don't think we match up with Phoenix well. Again, Dallas, I would take, but Lucas scares me a little bit in the playoffs.
Lakers scare me too.
I think the Lakers would
And I
scare
almost
me.
like to get the Clippers in the first round, and there'll be
I
a
would take
4
the
seed,
Clippers.
right? Yeah,
Give me the.
right.
But the Lakers, I think, would win every home game. I don't think we would win an away game if we played the Lakers. I think we'd take a series at home, but they would still scare me just because of LeBron.
Right. And well, Davis is playing pretty good right now. And
He can't stay. Guy gets poked in the eye and he has to go sit out every game.
yeah,
I mean, it's almost laughable.
D'Lo's playing some pretty good basketball right
Yeah,
now.
but
But
we
I'd
all know
still,
how D'Lo.
yep, I know.
We know
I
what
know.
like.
All right. All right. Okay. So nothing's been solved when it comes to the playoffs. It should get interesting, though. I mean, I don't know if I've looked forward to the playoffs as much as I have, and obviously winning helps that equation. But man, I think the playoffs are going to be fun this year.
It'll be, it's funny because it'll be a good distraction, or hopefully it's not a distraction from the Twins. But if the Twins suck, I mean, it'll be a
Yeah.
fun distraction at that point just to kind of forget about it. But hopefully they're both playing well. But yeah, I'm hoping for a 1 or a 2 seed. Quite truthfully, I think it would be nice to ride the home wave all the way through.
How do you coach if you're Finchy right now? How do you coach these guys going into the final 4 games?
I mean, I think you got to put the pedal down. I mean, you got some good teams minus Washington, who could also just come and kick your ass too. You never know. But no Cat still. I mean, hopefully for a couple games, but step on their throats. Just put the pedal down.
And that's the point I wanted to make. Was the one thing that does concern me, like we saw it against the Lakers the other night. I hate it when they toy with their food, and I see this every once in a while. And we've seen fourth quarter leads get away because we just don't. I mean, they did to some extent, but the Lakers, I think, got it down to 7 or 5 points or something like that. Made it interesting. I don't like it when we play with our food. I just want them to knock them the fuck out.
Yeah, I think we get like the thing I've noticed, I think with Finch, and maybe it's not him, but when we build a lead, we almost all of a sudden give it back because we just get cute and we I don't know what we try, or people, maybe the headspace just isn't quite there for this team. I think this team plays really well when it's a close game and when it's the lead is kind of dwindling, whatever it might be. But this team does not play with a big lead very well. So that's like, if I'm an opposing team and I come in and I'm down 25 to the Wolves, like I almost wouldn't be worried at that point because I think they would give it up.
Boy, between their defense though, and when the ball is flying, when they are really moving the basketball on offense, they're not a very beatable team at all. And that's when we've seen their offense at their best. And that's why I don't understand all the time why it doesn't continue to flow. Like I already said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If things are working, why do you stop what has got you to that, to that point during the course of the basketball game? And playoffs are going to be interesting because it's so different than regular season basketball, where every basket counts, both on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Like I say, I just want to start like tomorrow.
I think it's fun that I remember talking about all this at the beginning of the season. And I mean, Wolves were still in first place, and it's like, well, let's pump the brakes. Season isn't over. It's only been X amount of games, whatever. But now we're at this point, and this team is first in the Western Conference still. It's just fun to think about where this team has come. And it's the best Wolves basketball I've ever watched in my entire life. So it's just super exciting to get to this point.
So when Cat comes back now, like I haven't seen much, like TJ Warren's minutes have gone down considerably, right? But he completely gets phased out when Cat comes back, or what?
Yeah, I think at that point he's a good depth piece at that junction, just because injuries may happen again. You never know. And I don't know really how you fit him in when you want to give a lot of minutes to Kyle and to Nikhil and some of those
Kyle's
guys.
been
So
playing great basketball, man. He really has.
Kyle's looked really nice. I mean, they almost had a lineup of 5 point guards essentially on the floor the other night. I think you had J Mac, Mike Conley. I mean, Kyle was playing the 5.
Right.
Yeah, I think Kyle, Nikhil, Mike Conley, J Mac, and can't remember who else was out there. But I mean,
You said Conley and J Mac,
Conley, J Mac, McLaughlin,
McDaniel,
um,
Slomo,
and
and
Nikhil.
yep.
But that ball was flying. I mean, that
Right.
thing was moving. And they play good defense still too. I mean, Kyle can play 1 through 5, which is fun. And I remember a lot of people getting down on Kyle halfway through, or kind of around the trade deadline, and everyone kind of wanted him gone. But man, that guy is
Well, his shooting percentage has really gone, like, you don't think, because this herky jerky kind of style that he's got, but man, he's been pretty lights out lately. So okay, next item of business. All right. Have you heard anything? Because we are quickly approaching the NFL draft, and I found it interesting because I asked the question quite a bit, but I saw a buddy I hadn't seen in a while. We were talking a little bit, and he said, "So what do you think? Are the Vikings gonna are they gonna wreck their 11 and 23 pick, and they're gonna trade, so that they get a top 5, and then they're screwed and they gave up those picks?" And so, like, now I'm almost hearing the opposite side from some, that you're gonna try to get the best available player at both picks in the first round, and then you're pretty much screwed at quarterback position if neither of those picks are a quarterback, and much less a quarterback that you might be able to plug in the next 2 years. Have you heard anything recently about what? Because you got to imagine that they got something cooked up for draft day. You got to imagine that.
Quessie's always kind of had his vision, I think, and already planned out. From what I can gather, it sounds like the full plan is to trade up for a quarterback, but at the same time, Quessie's not just going to trade up to trade up. So if there's this position where, hey, either we're going to give too much up to move up, or hey, some of these, we don't really like the position we're at. We don't want to take this guy. We'd rather have this guy. He already went off the board, whatever it might be. I think then they'll stand pat at 11 and 23, take the best guys off the board, beef up some positions that they need to, and you might be looking at a quarterback in the second, third round, whatever it might be. I've also heard, well, they're just going to draft. They're going to go draft off of strength of position, whatever it might be, and look for 2025 to look for their franchise QB. But that 2025 class sucks, quite honestly.
Yep.
It's not this class. So, I think the nice thing is Quessie's he's built himself up in a position to go get a guy, but if that opportunity isn't there, or it's maybe a little too much, he can back off a little bit. And the Vikings will draft a quarterback this draft. They absolutely will.
Right.
Is it going to be a JJ McCarthy? Maybe. Is it going to be a Bo Nix? Maybe. Like it's either, I think within round 1 through 3, you're going to have a quarterback on your team. It's just
right, but that's what we got last year. You know what I mean?
Well, he was a 5th round.
But I don't think that we will be hearing his name anytime in the distant future at all, right? Like
I think he'll be the 3rd string this year, I believe. But but no, I mean, he was a 5th rounder. I don't think they drafted him as a, hey, he's gonna be.
I think that there were some that thought he could, especially because of his age.
From BYU, really?
Yep. Used to be a passing school. Okay, well, either way, it is a pretty exciting time. If you're a Minnesota sports fan, it is a pretty exciting time to be alive right now. You got Major League Baseball, like I say, is completely at full throttle. You got the NBA playoffs coming around the mountain in a couple weeks. You have NFL draft on the 21st. I guess. Oh, now, did you watch any of the NCAA Final Four at all?
A little, not as much as I would have hoped to, but I mean, It was still pretty cool from what I saw.
Yeah, yeah. I find it funny. I have to give props to my boss. Even she said after Kentucky lost, why is Calipari still in? How does he have a job at Kentucky? And he bolts for Arkansas. Now they're talking about Hurley maybe taking the job at Kentucky, which I can't believe. Like, why you wouldn't stay at UConn? That's his dream job anyway. I mean, that was, I think, his it job anyways. But one thing that I don't know if you saw this or not, but I just wonder what your opinion was on it. I saw after the women's championship game, and I believe it was the highest rated women's college basketball game of all time. And apparently Diana Taurasi came out and talked all kinds of shit about Caitlin Clark and saying about, yeah, it's different when you're playing 18-year-old little girls, but now you're going to come play with the women who've been playing pro basketball for 10 years and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, man, you're that, like, I don't remember the last time anyone talked about Diana Taurasi. Like, maybe her DWI, or was she one of the ones that likes to beat up on her wives, but doesn't get any cancel culture because somehow if you're a chick who beats up on your wife, that's okay. Not okay, but you know what I'm saying? Nobody cares. And now what? Somebody actually is talking about women's basketball and you're that jealous that you just got to start throwing stones?
Never in my life have I talked this much truthfully about WNBA basketball or college women's basketball, whatever it might be. And you finally have some of the best players coming into the sport here from college. And you should be all you've been doing in the past is trying to advocate for WNBA basketball and trying to build the sport. And you finally have this opportunity for these girls coming in to beef up this sport and make it what you maybe wanted it to be, where people are putting some respect on it a little bit and watching it more. And now it seems like the jealousy of, oh, don't come into my sport. You're going to, whatever. Like these girls are going to build this sport up. Like I consider what I might go watch Caitlin Clark in a WNBA game wherever she goes. Do I want to watch Diana Taurasi play basketball? Absolutely not. So look,
the same thing. I you know what I mean? And like, there have been a lot of really good, Dawn Staley, a good WNBA player. All right. Lisa Leslie, same deal. Maya Moore. But not enough to get me in my car to drive down to Target Center and go pay to watch a play. Might catch them maybe in the playoffs on TV, but I agree with that. And, it just reminded me, I mean, I don't know Diana Taurasi, but man, as one of my friends, I know the type, dude. And what I mean by that, like, man, all of my buddies' wives or girlfriends, they meet a chick one time and like, I don't like her. And, I don't know if that's the case there or not, but I just was surprised by that I'm not saying you got to, you welcome her with open arms. She's going to be a rival or whatever, but man, the claws got out quick.
Well, and this is maybe the first time that I can name 5 women's college basketball players currently.
Yeah.
I can't name 5 men's. Can you name 5 men's college basketball players right now?
DJ Burns, DJ Powell, Edie. There's got to be some other guys.
But you can name 5.
Jameson Battle.
Well, okay, if I'm naming Gopher players, but
he plays for Ohio State. All right. Well,
now he does, yeah.
No, but, okay. I think we made our point on that. I am because it's a lock. She's going to go to the Indiana Fever of the WNBA probably, right? Which she does enough commercial ads that she would not have to work another day in her life, right? But all right.
I mean, Caitlin Clark, Tyrese Halliburton, that's a fun time to be a basketball fan in Indiana.
Yeah, right. Okay. Final one. I don't know if you saw this. Major League Baseball umpire Angel Hernandez missed the solar eclipse yesterday. I don't know how he missed it. Sorry, that was a bad
I thought he ejected it.
Yeah, right. Which is funny because he wasn't even in Minnesota. So, for him to miss, I don't know. Have you seen his I guess the Toronto Yankees series was like absolutely horrible. He missed like 5 calls, something like that. That wasn't even my joke. I can't take credit for it. I saw it on, I believe it was a New York Yankees post, like on Facebook or something like that. But that guy's a total chotch. Never liked Angel Hernandez. So fuck off, Angel Hernandez.
Well, now, Twins absolutely lost the Cleveland game, but did you see how many calls that umpire missed?
Yeah, I was right behind home plate. Absolutely.
So
You're talking about on Saturday, right?
Yep. They do a thing called there's a guy out here he does umpire scorecards, and essentially he'll give you all the calls that were missed.
Brandon Miller is his name.
He compiles all those calls, and you can give hey, all his calls favored this team and caused maybe 2 extra runs for Cleveland. So he missed 22 calls in total, 17 against the Twins, including multiple balls and strikes to Matt Wallner, to multiple guys, and caused a 2+ run influential to Cleveland. Now, if you don't bring in runs, you're not going to win the game, but 17 missed calls.
Right. No, we were on top of it. You don't think me and P, we were right there, man. And if you didn't think that we were noticing what was going on, I mean, it's hard when it's 10 feet in front of you, but we were getting on him quite a bit. Just doesn't ever seem like Minnesota gets the calls, does it?
I'm sure every team is like that.
Right.
Well, they never call it for Chicago Cubs baseball, or we never call for Pittsburgh, whatever. But no, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to advocate for the robot umpires. Like I
won't either.
I get it. It's probably going to be like more accurate, but no, never. But I think there needs to be punishments for sucking at your job. Because look, like if everyone's getting a rating, it's like at work. Like I'll get a performance rating. If I get a shitty rating, why am I not being relegated to the minor leagues? Why am I not getting why is Angel Hernandez still umpiring Major League Baseball games? Why is he not umpiring the rookie league? Because that's where he should be. I mean, if you suck at your job, you shouldn't.
And I thought it used to be that way with umpires, as it was. They did have the minor league system where if you sucked, you could have been kicked down because they're all professional umpires, right? Like they go to school to do that. Like it used to, the NFL, they were like but they were like judges and senators or whatever, like were NFL referees. Basketball, I don't think that was a full-time gig either. Maybe it is now. But baseball, you actually went to the academy to learn how to be an umpire. And I thought that they did have the minor league system where, if you sucked, you could be. Now, I don't know if Angel Hernandez has so much experience now that he will never, he's like a U.S. congressman. He can just be there forever now till he dies. But I agree there should be. I mean, that's how they pick the umpiring crew for the World Series, right? Like they pick them based on their merit. So, I just, and to piggyback on what you said about robot, I mean, you've got to keep humans as umpires because that is one of the magical things about going to the ballpark is yelling at blue behind the plate.
Yeah. I mean, the new system, for what I see them testing in the minors, works really quickly, and you get one challenge, I guess, per at bat or whatever it might be. Like essentially, like let's say I'm at bat and that's 3-2, and let's just say I think that one was a ball, and he rings me up. I can turn around and tap my head. He'll tap his head, turn around to right behind him, and they'll either say strike or ball because they got the screen right in front of them. It takes like 2 seconds. But at the same time, I'd rather have an umpire have his own zone.
I agree.
It's just different. It's part of the game.
Right. And the pitcher figuring out he's been given that outside corner all night. I'm gonna aim for that area and having that consistent area. No, hey, sorry, I've been calling that a strike all night long. That's how good. And being able to have to figure out, that's why they watch video, even on umpires, to know where their strike zone is, because you're going to observe and you're going to draw your own conclusions about baseball differently than I am, just like anything else. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, you have a general idea of what the strike zone is, or what a runner is safe at first or not. Those are all general deals, but it's your interpretation of how you see that play. And that's what's great about mistakes. Human beings make mistakes, you know? And I'm still salty about the 1985 World Series, but that's the way it went. All right? So let it go.
I like the challenge system. I don't mind that. And because I wish it was around when Galarraga had his no-hitter taken away.
I did see that, yeah.
Because he would have had one. And quite honestly, I'm surprised they haven't gifted him one as a
doesn't count.
No, but I don't know. It's just something to think about.
All right. Well, we are just under the hour stretch there. Anything else you want to talk about? We covered a lot of quick time, very quickly, but I think we covered all the big ones. The Wild are irrelevant now, so we don't need to talk about them. Not that we did that much anyways this year, but for obvious reasons. Anything else you want to talk about?
What's behind you there? That's a nice.
Oh yeah, now I cannot take credit. That's we are not sponsored by the Lions Tap, but everyone talks about the Juicy Lucy being the best burger in Minnesota, and I do love the Juicy Lucy at Matt's, not at the 5-8 Club. Fuck that shit. But the best burger in the state of Minnesota is right behind me at the Lions Tap. But we are not sponsored by them, so I don't even know if it's legal for me to put that up there. I just wanted to tell you I had a tasty burger yesterday.
Well, we know you're watching Lions Tap, so the email is down in the description if you want to sponsor.
There you go. All right. Because we no longer have any shot at Stand Up Franks being able to sponsor us. But Lions Tap, we will reach out to you or get back to us, because you do make a tasty burger. All right, buddy. That's it for me. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, go Wolves, go Twins. That's about it, right? Anybody else? Go Lions Tap. For Noah Stoerzinger, I am Jonny Voss. Been watching the Show to Be Named Later podcast. We will see you next time.